As of right now, I am retired. I have no interest of getting back in the ring. I would rather be sitting down on the beach, getting my dick sucked by 2 escorts at the same time than fucking going in there and hanging out with a bunch of sweaty dudes all day.
Tonight in Las Vegas, lightweight phenom Pitbull Cruz defeated the previously undeniable Rolly the Machine. Romero's crushing 10-round win in a big pay-per-view event had many wondering about his future in the sport. Romero, renowned for his relentless pressure and capacity to withstand punishment, seemed like a shadow of his old self. His formerly burning eyes were replaced by a worrying sluggishness. However, Cruz was possessed and hammered Romero with jabs throughout the bout, finding gaps easily. In the 7th round, Cruz's thundering right hook flushed Romero's temple, sending him sprawling to the canvas. Romero, the warrior, stood shackily, but it was clear the conflict had taken its toll. Cruz felt blood in the water and ramped up the pressure, delivering a torrent of blows that left Romero on the back foot for the rest of the fight. The referee finally intervened in the 9th round to save Romero. Dejected Romero entered the post-fight news conference with bruises and welts on his face and a gloomy acceptance of loss. Cruz was the superior fighter today and deserves praise. Halted running a hand through his sweat-soaked hair. Honestly, after a performance like that, it's hard to disagree with anybody who claims unwashed up. A grin flickered on his lips for a tiny second. I've been in this crazy world of boxing for a long time, been in wars, but you know what they say, everyone gets old eventually. Romero, a former 2-division world champion, has always been admired for his granite chin and unwavering determination throughout his career. He has battled through injuries and emerged victorious against all odds. However, tonight's fight seemed to be a bridge too far. The beating he absorbed raised serious questions about whether he could still compete at the highest level. This sport is young man's game. Romero's side, sitting back in his chair, you need to have that fire in your belly, the drive to win every battle. Truth is, I simply don't have that same fire anymore, don't get me wrong, he added quickly, his voice recovering some of its former spark. I wouldn't exchange my experiences in this sport for anything. The titles, the fights, the fans, it's all been wonderful. A trace of pride flared in his eyes. But there comes a moment for everyone to hang up the gloves. And I believe that moment has arrived for me. With those words, Romero dropped the bombshell. So after a lot of soul-searching, he set his gaze, meeting the reporters directly. I've decided to step away from the sport effective immediately. I am announcing my retirement from professional boxing. A stunned silence descended upon the press room. Reporters, many of whom had chronicled Romero's meteoric rise to the top, were speechless. This wasn't the ending anyone had envisioned for the Machine. Romero, ever the showman, offered a weak grin. I know this might come as a surprise to some of you, he said, his voice laced with a hint of emotion, but the decision feels right. I achieved more than I ever thought possible. I fought the best, and most importantly, I always left it all in the ring. He puffed out his chest, slightly a flicker of his old swagger returning, and that's something I can be damn proud of. There were more than a few misty eyes in the room as Romero continued. Boxing has given me so much, he said, his voice thick with emotion. The memories, the friendships, the challenges, I'll never forget any of it. But now it's time for the next chapter. The Machine. Romero's retirement marks the end of an era. He leaves behind a legacy of thrilling fights, captivating knockouts, and an unyielding fighting spirit. While tonight's defeat may have been a bitter pill to swallow, there's no doubt that Romero will be remembered as one of the most exciting fighters of his generation.
I want to tell everybody, just thank you for coming out, and honestly, happy Easter, everybody. You guys, Jesus was resurrected.
Anticipated lightweight fight between the Machine Romero and a rising prospect Isaac Pitbull Cruz lived up to the anticipation, but not exactly in the manner many thought. This wasn't a back-and-forth slugfest. It was a demonstration of premeditated aggressiveness from Cruz and a courageous but ultimately fruitless attempt by a reduced-hit Romero. The bout, which took place as part of a huge pay-per-view event in Las Vegas, opened with a bang. Cruz appears inspired by Romero's pre-fight taunting, came out swinging. He delivered a devastating left hook early in the opening round that shot a shock into Romero, leaving the Machine wobbly for a while. Romero, famed for his resilience, managed to recover, but the writing looked to be on the wall. Cruz was the aggressor, directing the pace of the fight as Romero battled to regain his rhythm. We provided the spectators a spectacular fight, Romero said in the post-bout news conference, his voice colored with disappointment. Regrettably, We came up short. Touch of admiration flashed in his eyes for his opponent. I want to thank Pitbull Cruz. He's a heck of a fighter. Mio did show flashes of his old brilliance. He worked with his trainer Ismael Salas to utilize movement and ring smarts to stay in the fight. This strategy helped him navigate the middle rounds, but it wasn't enough to truly trip Cruz. Romero even resorted to some holding tactics, which earned him a point deduction at the 5th round. A turning point came in the 7th round. Cruz unleashed a relentless barrage of punches, culminating in a thunderous right hand that rocked Romero to his core, while Romero, ever the warrior, managed to stay on his feet. It was clear he was badly hurt. I fought with the intention to leave the decision out of the judge's hands, Cruz announced during the news conference, a satisfied smile spreading over his face. Goal done. The 9th round as Cruz complete what he began a series of hammer punches, overpowered a fading Romero, prompting the referee to intervene and end the bout. The official decision, a TKO win for Isaac Pitbull Cruz. The dominance of Cruz was reflected in the punch statistics. He landed significantly more punches than Romero, and with greater accuracy. This fight marked a changing of the guard in the lightweight division, with Cruz establishing himself as a force to be reckoned with. I'm not here just to be a dangerous fighter, Cruz remarked firmly. I now have a title that is backing me up, so anyone who is accessible, I'll be ready. Meantime, Romero's future remains unknown. Although he voiced his desire to return the punishment he suffered, raises doubts about his ability to fight at the top level. One thing is clear: the boxing world saw the end of an era tonight.
Who was a champion, tested positive for steroids because he's a piece of shit, and I got a dangerous 24 wins with 22 knockout puncher. He would have survived an extra 40 seconds with a devastating puncher like myself.
The lightweight fight between Rolly the Machine Romero and a rising sensation Isaac Pitbull Cruz was meant to be a KN of pyrotechnics. Instead, it ended in controversy and a painful pill to take for Romero, who exited the ring dejected and enraged with the referee's decision. The fight itself was a demonstration of premeditated aggressiveness by Cruz. He landed a huge left hook early on that sent a wobble through Romero, setting the tone for the rest of the night. Although Romero, renowned for his toughness, withstood the assault, he never quite able to establish his rhythm. Cruz's relentless pressure put him on the back foot. Irritation started to show on Romero's face. The turning point occurred in a spectacular 7th round, a flurry of blows from Cruz, culminating in a right hand that hit flush on Romero's head. Romero fell down, but stood on unsteady legs, a warrior's spirit urging him to continue. Yet the referee, worried about Romero's well-being, stepped in and called off the fight in the 8th round. This move caused a whirlwind of criticism. Romero, in the post-fight news conference, revealed a combination of fury and astonishment. His voice lacked with irritation. He stated that the stoppie was premature. I was never out of it, Romo exclaimed, slamming his fist on the table. Sir, Cruz caught me clean in the 7th, but I was on my feet. I could have seen the fight through that. Ref threw it away from me. A dark look clouded his eyes. This whole thing feels rigged, man. Like the fix was in from the start. Romero's accusations were met with skepticism by many analysts. The dominance of Cruz throughout the fight was undeniable, and replays showed Romero clearly on the defensive in the 8th round. However, Romero remained unconvinced. Look, I take my hat off to Cruz, Romero conceded grudgingly. He's a hell of a fighter, but the way this fight ended, it just doesn't sit right with me. I deserved a chance to fight back. A flicker of defiance sparked in his eyes. Maybe I wasn't at my best tonight, but a true champion goes out on his shield. They don't get robbed like this. Whether Romero's claims of a rigged fight hold water remains to be seen. However, one thing is clear: the warrior spirit that has defined his career burns bright, even in defeat. Only time will tell whether Romero seeks to protest this controversial finish or chooses to walk away from the sport. On a sour note, the bad blood between Rolly the Machine Romero and Isaac Pitbull Cruz continues to boil, threatening to overshadow Cruz's overwhelming win in their previous lightweight showdown. Romero, still fuming over the loss and the controversial stoppage, launched a verbal attack on Cruz, calling him weak and questioning his intelligence. These comments have ignited a firestorm of their own, prompting a furious response from Cruz. Let's rewind a bit. The fight itself was a clear display of Cruz's superior skills and relentless pressure. He dominated Romero from the opening bell, culminating in a TKO victory in the 8th round. However, the post-fight press conference took a turn for the worse when Romero, instead of offering congratulations to the victor, unleashed a trade of insults. Cruz is a good fighter, Romero unwillingly conceded. But that's all. He is decent. He didn't win because he was superior. He won because the fight was manipulated. Romero then took aim at Cruz's character, and let's be honest, he sneered. The guy isn't exactly the brightest bulb. These comments were a sucker punch for Cruz, who had conducted himself with respect throughout the fight week. Cruz, known for his quiet demeanor and focus on his craft, surprised everyone with the intensity of his response. "Listen here, right?" Cruz stated, his voice dripping with barely held rage. "You want to speak? Weak and foolish. Look in the mirror, buddy. You got knocked out for thinking you could walk all over me like some idiot." Cruz leaned forward, his gaze fixed on the reporters. "I trained my ass off for this fight. I put in the blood, sweat, and tears, and I dominated you in the ring. Ain't nothing weak about that." Cruz didn't stop there. He addressed Romo's claims of a fixed fight with unconcealed contempt. "A fixed fight?" Cruz scoffed. "You're just a sore lawyer grasping at straw. The only thing rigged here is your ego. Ride. You couldn't take the reality that a young warrior with passion and desire came in there and exposed you for what you are, a fading champion beyond his prime."